Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to be talking through my filmmaking rig that I've set up for my new FX30, Sony FX30, which I picked up predominantly for my wedding videography that I do, but I'm quite interested in doing a wee few sort of just random projects. I've got a couple of ideas in my head for either short films or wee documentary slash cinematic type videos that hopefully over the next few months you'll see a lot more posted on here regarding that. And I think the FX30 is going to be great for that. So I've put a wee rig together that I'm going to talk you through here today. So first off, I've actually got it attached on already, is the small rig mini top handle here that I wanted a top handle for potentially avoiding having to take my gimbal with me. And when I was looking at the different handles that were available, there was obviously the one that comes with the camera as an option, the top handle with the XLR audio input. But I generally record all my audio externally anyway, and any going into the camera is typically for a backup. So I didn't want to spend the extra £400 or £500 to get that, because I thought I wouldn't be making much use of it. I don't have any XLR microphones. I've just got my sort of shotgun microphones here and my lav mics. So the next thing I wanted was a handle that wasn't going to leave the camera front heavy or feeling like it was tipping forward, or conversely feeling like it was tipping backwards. And quite a lot of the handles that I did see had the handle, if you like, sticking out the back of the camera or over the front of the lens. And this one was one that actually ticked a few boxes, because it kind of, you can probably see, if I put that a wee bit closer there, how it's pretty well balanced between sitting over the front of the lens and the bulk of the camera body itself. And you slip your finger in. I'll put my right hand on so you can see. Put your finger in over the front there, and then you can get a good couple of fingers in behind, pinkies sort of left hanging off, but that supports the bulk of the weight there. Gives you a nice tight grip. Comes with a plate that attaches onto the 3/4 threads that are already on the FX30, and attaches on really securely. This feels really quite robust, and super impressed and super pleased with it. It's also got a cold shoe, here, that you can put in for any attachment that you want. You'll see what I'm going to do with mine a little bit later. And that allows me to get some nice low shots if I need to, and give a bit more stability. Works pretty well in terms of trying to get some gimbal-like footage for walking shots, but wouldn't replace a gimbal, but good enough, and you can always stabilize a little bit in post as well. So that's the first part already on. Next up, we have the small rig half cage. This is the one that also suits for the FX3 and is the one I purchased for the FX3. A couple of things I really like about this is I like the wee Allen key, the magnetic tightening key here on the bottom. Sticks in and slots in a wee bit as well underneath, so you're very unlikely to ever lose that. You also don't have to take the lens off to fit it on. So I'll pop it on here just now. There we go. And once it's in, you also have much more options of attachments onto the side here. I'll come back to the HDMI port a little bit later as well, because there is an extra part to this cage that I don't actually use, and I'll explain why a little bit later. The only bit I really don't like about the cage that I wish was removable was the bit for the rod here. I'll be using autofocus for the majority of my sort of cinematic projects, and I don't really need a follow focus system. So it's a bit of an extra bulk coming off the corner of the camera here that I wish was removable, although I do use this cold shoe here. So it's a bit hit and miss. I would have preferred a version, I think, that didn't have the rail mount, but still had a cold shoe off to the side. Yeah, that's the cage. Again, small rig for this cage, the one designed for the FX3, because it's the same body on the FX30, it can fit on both. Next up, we have this side handle, which again is a small rig product. I really like this, very versatile. You can adjust where you actually position the attachment bolts here, because I've used this on A7 IVs before, and it's a slightly different position to the cage for the FX3 or FX30, but it simply just slots into the side here. So I'll attach that on next. Okay, and then once we're in with the side handle here, again from Small Rig, you've then got the option of, you can do, this is better for pans, I find. If I was doing walking shots, I'd probably use the top handle. I think letting it hang and using your right hand for support gives you a little bit more stability than walking with two hands like this, where you get more of that Z-axis bump, but just gives you an extra option there. You can also get a wee cold shoe that attaches in on the top here, which I considered using depending on where I wanted my next piece of kit to go, which is the Rode Video Mic Go 2. This one's an interesting one because the microphone I'm using just now to actually record my audio here is the Rode Video Mic NTG, which is a bit of a better quality of microphone, but two reasons that I've decided to keep this one on the computer and use the Video Mic Go 2 as my on-camera rig mic is because this one, the Go 2, doesn't require any charge to the battery. It uses the power of the camera, and the size of it's a little bit smaller, more compact, so it takes up less footage in my wee rig that I'm putting together. So that was my deciding factor. It's just one less thing to have to worry about charging to take along to a shoot. And because I typically will rely on external recording of audio, whether it be a lav mic, this is always going to be my secondary backup source, if you like. So it's not essential that I have the absolute best quality from the shotgun mic that's on the camera. So this is where I have ended up deciding I'm going to stick with the corner of the half cage for where I position this mic, because I find that when I'm put it on the sidearm here, if I use the little cold shoe adapter I've got, it again just increased the footprint and the space that the rig took up. If I put it on the top here, I wouldn't have room for my next piece of equipment, and when it's on the top as well, it really does stick up quite a lot in terms of the space again, whereas I think this is the best position for a win all round. So that would go on there. You've got the wee cable management system in the middle here, and it'll just slot into the microphone jack on the FX30 here, which I'm not actually going to plug in just now because it's going to make it a little trickier to get my next bit of kit on and plugged in, which there is also something extra to say about too. So next up we have the Portkeys PT52 monitor, which is a pretty entry-level monitor, and because I'm not too sure where I sit on using external monitors or not, I didn't want to invest a great deal of money into it because I don't know how much I would end up using it. Early impressions are quite impressive though. I think I'll definitely make use of this at weddings, but probably on my A7 III, which is the camera that is typically on the bride, and then my main camera for the speeches. it's the one that I would man if I was at either of those two points of the day, the ceremony or the speeches, and doesn't have the unlimited recording, which is why I have to man that camera. So I think the monitor would make more use on that, which is why I don't use I'm not going to be using the HDMI cable lock that came with the cage, because I'll be using this monitor on different cameras depending on the job that I'm doing, and I'll need to get quick access to take it off. So whenever I'm using the fx30 as a tripod camera, or one of my videography projects, and I'm not going to be moving about too much, like in a wedding day, then I'll probably have the monitor here. So monitor is going to slip on the top here. Also, just before I put it on, actually, I've changed the standard sort of pivot adjustment. I don't know what you call this thing. I've changed this from the one that came with the Portkeys monitor, and the reason for that is this one you need a small Allen key, which they do provide, to be able to loosen it and then tighten it up to change the tilt position of the monitor. And I'm not going to be carrying an Allen key around with me if I can avoid it. So I've got the wee small rig one here, the monitor mount, which is a twist lock here. I actually leave it somewhat away from the tight position, just so I've got, it's a wee bit too tight actually, but somewhere out of the tightest position, just so I've got ability to tilt the monitor, depending on if I'm doing upright work or underslung work where I want to tilt the monitor back and get a low angle. So monitor sits on top like that. It's powered by the Sony MPF battery that I've got on the back here, and these batteries are great. I use them for my Aperture 60Xs, and they can power my big lights all day. And again, just to try and be a little bit more manageable with the cables going all over the place here, I can use the in behind the Rode mic here just to get this monitor cable into position. And in like so, and it's pretty well secured there in terms of it's probably not going to pop out with the way that I've sort of jammed it into the corner as such. And I've still got access to that side handle, so shouldn't be any problem in terms of access to the side handle. And that is pretty much my fx30 wee rig that I've got. So quite an impressive wee sort of setup there. I would probably find myself using this on tripod work for interviews, things like that. If I was going handheld, I would probably remove the monitor just for weight, and use the flip out screen to track any movement there. There is a wee setting that I've needed to change inside the menu of the camera to be able to, when you go into the menu, I think by default it was set so that the menu would appear up on the monitor. But the problem with that setting is you then don't have the LCD screen on when in filming mode, and focus then is an issue, how to focus, because you can't, although this monitor is touchscreen, you can't tap to focus on this. You need to focus through the camera still. And I like the tracking of the Sony cameras, so I've got mine set up to where I can now tap to engage the focus, and just hit the top button there to cancel it. So it's going to be a lot easier to focus this way. So really, really pleased with this wee setup here. And yeah, that is my camera rig.